Hi, guys. How are all of you doing? I hope you are having a great day. I am so glad we are together. Have you ever noticed that when you work together with someone, your task goes much smoother? It's nice to have someone to work with. I agree. It's like being a part of a team. I wonder if that's how the characters are feeling in our story washed up. Today, we are going to focus on a couple of reading strategies. Let's read this. What? We are going to learn to explain how scenes fit together to provide the overall structure of a story. How are we going to do this? We will identify and compare events that will help develop a theme. The success? Well, we will be successful when we use the evidence to identify a theme. This will be done in your Readers and Writers Journal, page 71. So, another one we're going to work with, again, is learning to determine the meaning and then use academic words specific to a text or the content area. How will we do this? We're going to define words by using context clues. We will be successful when we use the words in the right context. Let's go on. So, by doing this, we're going to increase our understanding of the overall structure of our story and how the author would like for the reader to connect. This is a chart we will complete after we read the text today. It should help us identify a recurring theme. You will then be asked to answer questions from the Readers and Writers Journal, page 71 on Ready Gen. These questions will also help you determine a theme. Here are the focus vocabulary words, but I want to remind you, as a good reader, you will also identify other words in the text as we read, and you should identify the meaning as you do so. Please make sure you have your journal and pencil so that you can take notes as we go. So, our first word is conclusions. It will be on page 42 of our text. The part of speech is it's a noun. It's not a person. It's not a place. It's not even a thing. It's more like an idea. Conclusion. The root is conclusion, and that is a final decision reached by reasoning. The last part of something or a final settlement. We're going to have to figure out which way it's going to be used in the text. The suffix s means plural or more than one. So instead of making a final decision reached by reasoning, we might make final decisions. That means more than one conclusion to an hypothesis. For example, the scientists' conclusions were based on the evidence. The synonym would be inference. Inferences. In other words, conclusions are based on evidence, and so are inferences, guys. The next word is precisely. I'm going to move my video just a little bit so you can see. And precisely is on page 44. The part of speech is a describing word, and in this case, it's an adverb. It's describing how. The root is precise. It means exact. Another definition would be to confirm or suggest exactly correct. The suffix ly means in a specific way. So precisely would mean being exact in a specific way. The example would be the time was precisely 12 o'clock p.m., so we went to lunch. A synonym would be exactly. Good job, guys. Chapter 4. It seems that a few of our players have decided to put their heads together and work this out in a civilized way, even if they are in the jungle. Barry Blue's hand flew to her mouth. But oops, we can't talk about that. It's top secret after all. Oh, what does Barry Blue mean when she says it's top secret? What is she talking about? I agree. She is talking about how the players are working together, like cooperating. But then do you see how the word are is in italics? That's the slant. That's what it's called, italics. What is she saying is the secret? I do think the author is giving the reader a clue here. Wonder what the clue is. Let's keep reading. It was probably a foolish thought. Oh, by the way, I know you guys noticed the leaf, didn't you? So now we're in a different setting and we're not with Barry Blue. Let's keep reading. It was a foolish thought coming this late, but as Shin hurtled down the zip line at more than 30 miles per hour, he wondered how this was going to end. He tried to touch the cable with his hand, but the friction scorched his skin. When would he slow down enough to stop? Would he have time to jump? Oh my, this is a little scary, isn't it? Have you ever ziplined? One of the first things you are told to do is not grab the line. It could really tear your hand up. It sounds like Shin has found that out. He's getting badly burnt from the friction holding on to that line. Oh my. Okay, let's. We have another signal change, don't we? Let's keep reading. Meanwhile, Gabriella was jumping to conclusions. You're a cheat, she told Oliver, trying to steal these things from our side of the fence. Oliver flushed. I'm only looking for water in a container of some sort. He leveled his gaze at the battered pan in Gabriella's hand as her fingers tightened around it and said, and matches. It doesn't sound like Gabriella and Oliver are getting along. However, they are explaining and discussing their why they're doing what they're doing. Hmm. When you don't get along with someone, do you stop and explain or do you just march off? Hmm. I wonder what Gabriella and Oliver are going to do. Let's go on. Gabriella shook her head in disbelief. Isn't there anything you rich types have figured out on your own? Hmm. That was when Oliver strode out of the underbrush and grabbed Gabriella's, excuse me, and grabbed Gabriella by her wrist. If we could figure out everything on our own, do you think they'd have cut a neat little rectangle in this fence? It's just large enough for one person to slip through, he shouted angrily. We have another clue here from the author, don't we? I think the clue is Oliver's observation that the fence has been specifically cut for someone to get through. So let's think about it. Barry Blue's statement at the beginning of the chapter was a clue, them not getting along, but now Oliver's explaining this fence has had to be cut. Hmm, let's go on. Drawing closer to the opening, Gabriella frowned. It did look like it had been cut precisely, not gnawed by animals or worn out by time, but she hung back. Why would I help you to win? She asked. Oliver told her about how Mrs. Walpole had spilled her shampoo in a freshwater pool that took them days to find, and how Mr. Walpole had scared off a wild hog snuffling for water. If he'd stayed quiet, the hog would have led us to a dried riverbed or a stream, I'm sure. Let's keep reading. Gabriella giggled. Two parents, twice the trouble. Oliver's mouth twitched, but before he could chuckle, there was a loud buzzing sound. Bees? And a high pitched shriek that sounded nothing like any jungle animal. Yay! Gabriella ducked, and a pair of flying shoes and dangling legs scuffed the top of Oliver's head. Aye! A boy shot past them as if on wings and landed with a full thud against a tree trunk. Hmm. I think there's another clue about the theme of the story. Do you remember Shin conveniently found the harness in the zip line? And now it has taken it to where Gabriella and Oliver have met? I don't know. That sounds planned, doesn't it? But the families didn't plan it. What do you think is happening? Let's pause for a minute. How did the children from the three different families manage to meet up together? I would like you to think about this question and then pause the video and write 3 to 5 sentences answering the question in your journal. How did the children from the three different families manage to meet up together? Once you've written your 3 to 5 sentences, start the video again. You made quite an entrance, exclaimed Gabriella after she and Oliver had. Excuse me, I need to move my picture again, don't I? Let's try that again. You made quite an entrance, exclaimed Gabriella after she and Oliver had followed the zip line to where it came to a stop. I took the scenic route, Shin grinned, relieved to discover that the zip line had been fitted with a braking system. He wriggled out of his harness. His legs felt like jelly. Hmm, let's keep reading. Oliver's face lit up. By any chance, did you see a river on the way down? They each introduced themselves, and Oliver expanded on his parents' mistakes, while Gabriella and Shin talked about their family's needs for basic supplies. After they had all explained their positions, Shin gave Oliver a flask of water from his backpack and some solid advice. Walk north and you'll hit the river. Use the sun to guide you. Gabriella and Shin then pooled a few matchsticks for Oliver. Gabriella gave Shin plenty of coconut husks to build a fire with, and in return, Shin gave Gabriella a mosquito net to keep off the sandflies. So the structure or plot of the story starts with a problem in chapter 1. What is it? That's right, it's a contest to survive on the island. What makes the problem worse in chapter 2 and 3? Yes, if you remember, chapters 2 and 3 described all the problems the families began facing. I want you to pause your video and in your journal make 3 columns. Those are the vertical ones. One column will be for each family. So make sure you head the columns with the names of the families. Then I want you to list all the problems in the column each family faced. Pause your video when you've done that and mentioned all the problems you could remember, and you can go back in the text if you'd like. Then let's go on. This is all the fruit I'm left with, said Oliver, sharing it with his 2 newfound friends. Excuse me. At that, Gabriella's face softened. Take this old pan. It's no use to me anyway. And keep your fruit. We can always eat more coconuts. Hmm, we have a new setting. Looks like they can't do it alone, sang Berry Blue in a flamingo pink caftan now, and here her mouth twisted as her face filled the screen. Maybe somebody needs to tell these people that competitors can't be friends. There's only one prize after all. So, I have a question. How does the problem or conflict start to change in chapter 4? That's right. The children of the families are talking and they're working together to solve the problems. Do you think they should do this? Why or why not? Here's the chart we saw at the beginning of the lesson. As we read, I hope you were also taking notes. Let's review. In chapter 1, we saw the problem was surviving on the island. The topic would be considered survival and competing or winning the contest. Then in chapter 2 and 3, we saw the problems, excuse me, getting worse, right? The topic still being surviving, competing, but then also making foolish mistakes. And the tension between the families, oh my. Remember, some of the tension was external, where some were fighting, but some of the tension was internal, when the characters' feelings were angry and worried and frustrated. Yes, frustrated, especially the children, right? Then in chapter 4, we see, excuse me, the characters are working together to solve their problems. These characters are the children, aren't they? We would say the topic in chapter 4 was survival and the children cooperating as problem solvers. Hmm, do you see a theme recurring? Let's look at the topics. What do you notice by looking at the problems and finally the solution? And especially how the characters respond to the challenges. We do see a theme emerging, don't we? Great job. Here is what I would like for you to do. I have 5 questions for you to answer in sentence form. Remember, that includes beginning with capital letters, ending with punctuation, but also being using complete thoughts, not random phrases. This is from your Readers and Writers Journal. Your teacher may have assigned this on Seesaw. If he or she didn't, please use the text and your journal and pencil or pen to write your answers. At the end, the final question asks how these events develop a theme. Please answer this question, but also include what you believe the theme would be based on what we have analyzed. Be prepared to discuss your answers with your teacher and classmates. So I want you to make sure that you write in sentence form what you believe the theme is. All right, students, you have worked diligently, you have embraced the challenge, and you are seeing success, even though you may not have been in your comfort zone. Don't give up. Do your work and keep on doing that great thinking. You can do it. Here are the resources that I've used, and I'll see you next time.